All right, welcome to the Gray Matters, where we discuss more than just the hot topics and headlines of the day from a black man's perspective. We appreciate that we are not all a monolith, and every subject deserves to be explored with nuance, giving a view from all sides of the culture. So, as usual, we are here to hopefully bring that to you every week with a little bit of class, some fun, a little bit of spice here and there. And our panel, as always, consists of three guys that are absolutely nothing alike. Though, if you haven't already figured out, you will soon come to find out just how much we love each other in spite of our sometimes very big differences. As always, I'm Billy Craig here, joining you from beautiful Delaware, and my two partners in crime, my good brothers, uh, Opie Taylor is joining me from Nashville, and Deputy Barney Fife, all the way out in
Wow.
Portland, Oregon. Yes, how are you today,
Wow.
Barney? How you doing, Barney? What's the problem? Good to see you,
Wow.
gentlemen. Say something. What you got?
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Damn, Andy.
What, have we actually ever heard
Come
Barney
on.
say that on an episode? Even though you know he wanted to.
I mean,
Damn, Andy, that was cold blooded.
Matlock.
Oh boy.
Oh, whew. All right.
That ain't what Ain't B said last night.
Uh-oh.
Right.
You know what? Just go.
Right.
Just,
Right.
Just go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Put my buckle up at Ain't B. Talking that talk.
I guess that would be a weird segue into the topic.
But hey, since we're here though,
We are here. We're gonna pull up. Why not?
Right.
So our topic for today, we have appropriately entitled "It Ain't Trickin' If You Got It." But to flesh this out, recently was not really even a recent thing, but we'll just talk about recent enactments that we've seen. It happens to be basketball players, but you got PJ
Hoopers
Washington.
are corny.
PJ
They
Washington
say us football
with,
players are dumb because we bang our heads, but these hoopers though.
yeah. Brittany, was PJ Washington with Brittany Renner, who wrote a whole book on him. You got Zion, who is in multiple situations at his current second.
Arenas.
Even arenas. We got what's your boy Jordan Poole, who allegedly paid $500,000 to date Ice Spice. So this isn't a knock on the actual culture of money. Like, you spend your money how you want to spend it. But this is a larger conversation on what happened. Like, how did we get here where we are using money as an object to bypass dating? Like, just the entire system of my whole entire game is predicated on I'm rich, and that's it. Like, I'm gonna be rich and use the internet to get whatever broad I want, kinda. Because I think Ice Spice is now dating somebody else, so she just accepted $500,000 for no reason and kept it pushing. It's been women looking to retire off of ball players' monies for that since ball players started making money. So I just wanted to kind of explore that and see, is this a lack of game or is this just the game at this point? So since Paul got
Do y'all know that Blake Griffin and Matt Leinart share a baby mama?
I do know that. She was fine, but she getting rich off both ends.
Boy.
She got residual income coming from television and athletics.
She get like, I want to say $500,000 a month between those two cats.
Yeah.
So there's some expensive kids. Let me jump. I'll tell you what, because I got a feeling Andre gonna have Andre. He's the resident superstar on the panel. So let me since I'm like, the least, I resemble these cats that you naming the least. Let me go ahead and get mine off, and then I'm gonna sit back and let y'all do it.
Okay.
Because I know how you and Paul used to roll back in y'all's prime.
Wow.
I
don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah.
What am I supposed
Let
to
me
do?
say
Almost clutch my pearls. Like,
right.
He did that Dave Chappelle me. Like, wait a minute. So here's the thing. I honestly don't believe that, and you already led with this. I don't think it's particularly new. what I will say though is this: in an honest moment, I kind of think there's a little bit of both. That there's some lameness here, and then there's also just I got money, so this is kind of what I do. What I'll say though is this: I honestly believe that more men, if they had the money, would do that. And I'm not going to judge people and their reasons, but I don't honestly think that. And again, Paul and I, we've gone back on this a lot over the years. I don't think there's as many men out there with game as like popular TV and things that we read about in books. I don't really think there's nearly as many, because I think just like anything, I know you're probably tired of hearing me say it, having game requires some failure. It requires some work that you put in. You have to face rejection. And frankly, you don't develop game without rejection. You don't develop the ability to.
Boomhire told you that in that episode on King of the Hill.
Yes.
When Bobby, when he took Bobby out to show what he did,
yes.
and Bobby was heartbroken. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
One episode.
And that's kind of the thing. You have
just
to
ask everybody what's happening until
yes.
somebody say what's happening. Yeah.
Yes. And what happens is, and even though we're talking about it in this context of people essentially paying for access to women that they find attractive, and I know it's a little deeper than that. I'm just simplifying it for the purposes of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. What I find is that if you're not willing to face rejection, if you're not willing to fail at something, you will not be able to learn the finer points of it. It's like getting on the microphone. If you're going to sing, if you're going to rap, whatever it is, you have to risk being booed. You have to risk being labeled as corny. You have to risk being people just even not booing you, maybe just not responding. You have to risk any type of rejection or pushback, and you literally, there is no replacement for that. So what happens when you have access to money, when you're famous because your daddy or your mama was famous, or you just run in these circles, you actually almost want to find a cheat code. And I just don't find that game is something that you can get a cheat code for. It's the reason why, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, even last season, different things like that, where you'll have these preachers that get out there. You have these other famous people who get out there who we look at it and think, why are they making a fool of themselves? They don't know that they're making a fool of themselves. They actually are shooting their shot, but they never learned not to just belabor the sports analogy, they never learned proper form. They were never taught the right way to approach the plate or to actually have their hand placement on the ball when they take that shot. They never learn those finer things, and there is no replacement for that kind of stuff. You literally have to take. There's a book I read, and the author talks a lot about how to become an expert at something, you have to do something at least 10,000 times, right?
You mean outliers?
Outliers. Thank you, Malcolm Gladwell. And the point being is, but the point I'm making is that even though I don't find that particular math to always track in everything, the point is there are certain things you just cannot replace. You cannot replace the actual act of going out there, risking failure, risking embarrassment, risking the possibility of you get back to the locker room and you get clowned or you get dissed because you failed at something. And too many of I feel like this up and coming generation, and some of the people that even in the past, they've never had to risk anything, and they think that the money's going to replace that. So it's kind of a blend. I know I didn't really dig on the topic, but my thing is, people is what they say, game recognized game. There's a reason why that saying applies, and it has held true all these years, because you know somebody who has actually done the work. You can tell just by talking to him for 2 minutes. You'd be like, yeah, he's one of us, so to speak. He knows what it is. And that doesn't mean that you a player or whatever. I mean, look,
that's exactly
I'm way out of it. But my point is that you don't have to be actively out in those streets. I'm not actively out in those streets. But I know
we say player or G or whatever. It doesn't mean that you up to illegal activity. Yeah, it just means that you a solid man.
You know what you're looking
human or whatever that may be.
And too often I like that word solid, because I think too often personally that we want to replace solid with like expediency. there is no way to get around certain
Ain't no
things.
shortcut.
There's no shortcut to it. And I feel like a lot of these cats, like Andre was just naming at the opening, a lot of these guys, there is almost like I make $20 million a year. I'm famous, I'm a baller, whatever. And then it's like, yeah, but this is part of the game that you literally cannot cheat. There is no easy access to it.
Before you start, Paul, I also wanted to bring up one other person that I don't know how I completely missed this person on the list, but he used fame and fortune and got himself in trouble. Old Rub and Tug in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson is also guilty of this on I forget however many occasions it was at this point that he got caught for, but
26.
26.
No, 26 where he got
alleged.
Well, no,
yes, I'm
sorry. 26,
alleged.
26 people who filed complaints, but it was, I want to say like 60 or 70 different women that he had solicited. If I'm not mistaken.
Literally, it's 26 formal allegations. 24 of them actually were followed up on, and there were charges. And then I believe, what was it, like 18 or something like that? He settled out on or whatever happened.
No. What I'm saying is, all the women that he solicited did not bring him up on charges.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. I think he was. I want to say it was 77 or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Over the time period, he was going for basically once every couple of weeks.
Once every week was a new girl.
Was that it?
Off of Instagram.
Once every week. Okay.
Over 18 months.
So I know I
shut that man's account down.
I was disappointed in myself that I forgot him as an example of Trickin. So my bad. As you were, Paul, what say you? Is it? I mean, I know Billy covered a lot with, game recognized game and the no shortcuts part, but there just seems to be like we skipping steps. Like is women, I think women want money. I got money.
I'm with you. Okay, so what I see is we have this thing called natural selection, right? Which affects all of us, all species, right? Survival of the fittest. And money has allowed some of us, it could even be racial if you want to take it there, to circumvent natural selection, to where the power and those sorts of things would reside in money as opposed to genetic code. So I believe that there are a lot of people who use money to shortcut genetic code, because a woman might not choose you if you didn't have that money. Or access to these things. A woman might choose a different person if all things were equal. Does that make sense?
It does, but there's a gap here because, and the only reason I'm saying just from personal experience, like for those who are new to the show,
I'm still wrestling with that.
I get what you're saying. I'm just because I've experienced something different. Because before, for those who are new, I played college sports. I'm a football player, University of Louisville, whatever. But all that to say that I've been around the environment where there were still, girls or women hanging outside locker rooms and things like that, just to be associated with you. So it hadn't been hard to come by in most circumstances. The survival of the fittest, you didn't even have to survive. I had if they knew you were on the team, whether you were a starter or not, they were there. You survived just based on you just walked out and it's like, oh, here goes a sandwich.
And for people who don't know, you don't have to play at the University of Louisville.
Exactly. I was just about to go into that.
For
people who don't know, I'm a small college football player and experienced the same types of energy, so to speak.
I tried to walk on the run track, and played baseball traveling around at the lowest possible level you can get. And trust me, they will find you.
So
They will
I
find
get
you.
what you're saying, but
Right.
that's genetic code, brother.
Okay. Okay.
They want to be around you because you're on a team. You're an elite human. Now, what happens
Okay.
is you
I
have the
got you.
guys who ain't on the team, who have some money, and they're usually in the frats.
Or
right?
they're 6'9", but it doesn't make them an elite human. It just means that you're tall.
No, you 6'9", you're an elite human, bro. What's
That's
wrong
the
with you?
but that's my point. That is literally my point. You could be a horrible human. How many times have we seen somebody?
No,
who
I
got
mean
chance after
genetically.
Genetically.
Oh
speaking.
yeah, and what I'm saying is that's part of what I'm getting at, though. I think there's a lot of people who didn't do the work to become elite humans. See, the thing about it is I've never been 6'9". Okay, so therefore, if I was going to get selected and be on the team, it had to be for something other than being 6'9". You better be strong,
Right.
you better be quick, be fast, something. But
Right.
those are things you have to work at. And I'm not saying it's only this, but it's not lost on me that most of the people that Andre picked were basketball players. Because the one thing you have to be a basketball player, that's a prerequisite.
It's probably 6 foot something.
You got to be at least 6'3" to even get in, to even get on the court and get a chance. And then even then, you got to
be elite.
You got to be the Chris Pauls, the Steph Currys, the Isaiah Thomas, whatever. That's what
nothing.
Right. And that's kind of my point, is that if you're not exceptional at something, you don't even get a second look.
Right.
Whereas with basketball, there were guys who were 6'6", 6'7". They couldn't walk without tripping over their feet, but they got chance after chance after chance. And I think that's kind of the point when I say exceptional human. Genetically, being an exceptional human is not enough. That's all I'm saying.
Well, central casting.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Like there's some guys that just come out of central casting and they just ain't worth nothing. Right. Yeah. Like we all know these guys. They got muscles. They can lift a whole daggone weight room. And then you get them on the field and they can't play dead.
Yeah. Right. And then they go to acting. Right? Nah, for real. That's what happens.
Like, or wrestling.
Shout out to The Rock. Shout out to Terry Crews. Shout out to Carl Weathers. Shout out to
Terry Crews. No. Play though.
No, I'm literally what I'm saying is they were. I'm not saying they couldn't play. The Rock could play. I mean, he played in Miami. My point is, what I'm saying is, there are people who recognize but they recognize my future does not lie in the NFL.
Right.
I have other things I can do with it. My point is, there are some people, they have nothing else. And so it's almost like, hey, I got money.
He said,
they got nothing else.
Just 6'7" for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, that hurts. That's gotta hurt.
No, for real. No, all seriousness.
I think that would be hell to me, to be a 6'6" black guy with muscles and you can't run a jump.
But we know people like that.
We do.
We literally went to school with people like that.
Do.
And they sorry. And got the nerve to be arrogant and got the nerve to have a bad attitude and don't know how to cooperate and make friends and compromise. Like, you got the nerve to be stubborn and you're uncoordinated and you 6'8". Like, we know these people. And I'm not saying that as a diss. I'm only saying that at the end of the day, the point you raised about being genetically gifted, genetically superior, that's unfortunately why some of these people get in trouble, because they don't realize, like, that can only carry you so far. And when it comes to women, when it comes to family planning, when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to a lot of these things, being 6'8" does not save you.
It's like having big titties.
That's a great way. I don't owe you anything just because, and I'm talking about you natural, right? Like natural, whatever. But unfortunately, a lot of at an early age. That is embedded. That is ingrained. This idea that, ooh, you got a body. And then what do? They lean on that idea that, hey, I'm pretty, I'm cute, I got a body, everybody wants me. What's up? Nah, I ain't gonna give you enough, but let's go out. Let me get this free meal. And then it's like, you can't hold a conversation.
And then you get
you're not thoughtful.
Or these tall guys who's supposed to be hoopers, who, yeah, they act the same way. And it's weird, man.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah.
But I don't know. I still don't know if you answered, Paul, if you clearly answer whether or not it's tricking.
What?
If you got it. If these guys out here and they got $20 and $30 million, it's always tricking.
Yeah. It's always tricking. I'm from Forest Park, bro. I'm from Forest Park. It is what it is. It's always tricking, bro. Now, if you want to spend on your lady, spend on your lady. I'm nobody telling you not to do that. I spend on mine. You should spend on yours if you want to keep her, right? But if you spending to get her, that's tricking. See, spending on your wife
is there a limit though? But is there a limit though? Well,
what you mean a limit?
Like, is there
reciprocity?
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't know. Maybe the patriarchy would characterize that as
well, the patriarchy would say that you owe it to her because she has a vagina. No,
I'm saying just being a gentleman.
Okay. I'm a generous human being. Generally, if we all sit down for dinner and you guys bring your children and your women and the check come, I'm going to slide my thing to the people before y'all even see it if I can. Just because I'm a gentleman.
Pause.
But y'all understand. Come on, man.
I'm using one of yours because I was like, if I said that, Paul would be like, pause. I'm uncomfortable.
Right. You got me. You got me. I'm gonna slide my thing right quick. Right. So
I need an adult.
Right.
You can't have my purse.
Right. And y'all not even gonna know what's happening. I'm just gonna be signing. I'm be like, all right, what we about
I'm gonna be
do?
Looking for the bill, and the waitress be like, oh man, Mr. Wilson,
it's already taken care of.
Right. Yeah.
And you're gonna be like, where the bill at? And I'm like, all right, it's already gone. Right? Like, cause that's how.
And then I'll be like,
that's how real G's act. Right. Like we actually try to snake each other out of paying.
Right.
Like I'm gonna get
I
it
gotta
before
leave
you
the tip, or
you know what I'm saying? Right. So is that tricking? Is that tricking?
No, because we had the established relationship prior. Now, if you if you do the same as marriage, right? Then that's a sad situation. But you also tricking there too to get friends. If you paying with the expectation like I need people to like me, I'm gonna pick up the tab. Then it's weird, but that is what that is. But what I'm looking at when you get to the situation of professional athlete, even a professional athlete or somebody who's in a situation financially, and you replace actual conversation and ability to hold conversation with your wallet,
what does it cost?
And that's what I was saying. Is there a cap?
That's like textbook though.
But here's what I'm saying. I think there is a very fine line in that conversation where there's a difference between we got a coffee at Starbucks, had a conversation. I pick up the tab and it was, $20 worth of espressos.
That's not what he's talking about.
I know that. And that's why I'm saying, but the reason why
he's talking about $40.
What I'm saying is, you know what?
He's talking about $40.
Listen, okay. See, here's the thing. First of all,
I mean, at the end of the day, though,
for those of you who are listening,
like, let's keep it 100.
For those of you all who are listening,
with the inflation and everything, it's $40.
Listen, Paul claims to love me, but he is bound and determined to burn down and destroy my ministry by making references that I gotta pretend like I don't know what he's talking about, but I know exactly.
$40.
It's right over there on the nightstand. Here's the point. I'm saying What I'm saying is, even with that, like, is there a cap where it's like, okay, if it were $1 as opposed to $40, is it still tricky? That's what I'm saying. Like, if it's is it the amount of money that is being spent, or is it the fact that you are trying to transactionalize a relationship? Is it because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about.
Is it a service or is it an exchange of pleasure?
Okay, and that's what I'm saying, because let's face it, if it's an exchange, just like with you and your wife, or if you're dating somebody, it's not the same thing as if it is transactional. And that's why I would almost define it that way, that if it is transactional, then it is tricking, no matter whether it's just friends because you're trying to prove that you worthy to hang out with your boys, or if it's some woman or whatever it is. Like, it should not be, certain spaces shouldn't be transactional. And that's unfortunately where game comes in. Game helps you elevate yourself to where people understand, I want to be in his presence anyway, whether there's a transaction or not. But game teaches you that, and that's right. That's the reason why you can't have a shortcut. You got to learn how to do that.
Which is supremely weird, especially when it comes to professional sports, like figures in general, just because of the fact that
they like you said earlier, because they got game, but they ain't got no daggone game.
That's the point. It's like Andre said. Andre's sitting out there, and if you're at the University of Louisville, you just get off the bus with your bags. By extension, people want to be, and my in-laws, they're all from Louisville. Trust me, they don't care who it is. Basketball, baseball. If you play varsity Division I sports at the University of Louisville, they want to be in your presence, because
shout out to Sadiq Clemens.
Yeah,
you can absolutely come on, young fella, get you some sacks up. They waiting on you. And you should listen to this episode, because you ain't got to spend it, dog. They coming.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Keep your money in your pocket, bro.
The homie Eddie, I know we glad. Hey, I know they coming, boy. They coming in row. It's a line. It's a line a mile long waiting on Sadiq, boy.
But but also with like people who've made it to professional sports, like the fact that you've had rejection. Like, I know the AAU handles, gives you everything and all this other, but overall, you haven't made every shot you've taken. You haven't, you done got bodied by somebody who's better at the game than you, or you just had an off day. Like, you've had failure, but you can't handle failure when it comes to relationships. That is an odd, like, the thing that actually makes you who you are is your ultimate confidence, but you don't have confidence when it comes to dealing with somebody else. And that part is the part that I can't understand, not because of like some kind of level of arrogance or anything like that. It was just the fact that, like, even though I was who I was, I still had to talk to the females. I still had, because I wasn't going after just the average. Like, no, like, I mean, everybody got them. Like, no, I wanted like the real shiny object on the top shelf, like the one when you was at Chuck E. Cheese, you had to have 100,000 tickets to get to. Like, that was the one that I was going after. So it was like, I'll never forget. I won't rat him out, but it was the funniest moment of my collegiate experience. No, do I want to name it? But it was a basketball player on the team at Louisville. That
I'm thinking.
Just
I got you. I already know who it is now.
We went out to a party, and he was approaching a female, and I'll never forget this because this hurt my soul. He approached her. He was like, "Yo, I'm this person, blah blah blah," and she looked him dead in his face and said, "You on scholarship? You can't afford me."
That man ain't never recovered. I just heard that 15 seconds ago, and I ain't never gonna recover from that.
I just sat there like, ooh, wow. All right, I'm gonna head this way, y'all. What y'all get?
All he had to do was text coach.
At that time, it would have been Denny.
Was Denny Crum still the man back then?
He was still the man at that point.
I had Rick back then. That's right. I forgot.
Rick was in Kentucky.
Crum was here.
Yeah, but yeah,
Rick would have got him straight. He would have been like, "I just call coach. Whatever you need, you got it."
That's what got us in trouble to start off with. So,
wait till St. John's with that St. John New York
man,
money.
put our banners back up. We won the title in 2013.
Well,
Anyway,
you know what?
I didn't brought
Yeah,
up
y'all
Academy.
did because it's either y'all or that other team that's up north.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd rather hear it from y'all.
Yeah. Decisions got to be made.
Yeah. Punk ass Trey Burke.
But when we look at it though,
shout out to Trey Burke, my bad.
Social skills, and I think part of it still gets back to entitlement of social skills and what we're teaching, a different generation. So again, for those of us first time watching, all of us are fathers, all of us, played sports, all of us have been in that circle, we've been in that arena to varying degrees. And all of us, either have children that are currently partaking in it or hopefully someday will. So what lessons when it comes to dating or talking to or anything of the above are y'all teaching? Because if they end up lame, I'm blaming y'all. So I want to know what the lessons look like, because I know their daddies was OGs. So what happened is what my question going to be when if I find out that young Wilson spending $250K on a date.
Oh Lord.
So
Lord.
What are we doing here?
Yo, shout out to Royal. He actually hit me on Father's Day.
Okay, all right.
Even though we at it. Shout out to Royal. I told that boy, find tall. Number one, we need some height in the family. You want a D1 athlete, you gotta get some height in the family. Number one, find tall. And number two, if she ain't got nothing to do, like if she ain't got a sport or if she ain't like got a super like dope goal, you wasting your time. Cause like mama's boss. Mama's a boss. Like she's executive vice president of American Institute of Architects in Oregon, the whole state. You want one of those? Or you want something that's just going to smile and say, okay. I'm not teaching you to go get something that's going to behave. I'm teaching my boys to go hunt bosses. We want Beyonce's. We want Giselle's. We want Michelle's. Obama's, that is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I want Sharice's and Jackie's. You see what I'm saying? Heather's. That's what I want my boys to go after. I don't want my boys to go after what Rousey used to say, she used to call them do nothing bitches. D&Bs or whatever. Yeah, you want to go after a woman that's driven, that's going to challenge you. Now, that's not going to be fun all the time.
At all. No. And that's where the game comes in, is you're going to have to learn.
That's not going to be fun all the time, bro.
You're going to have to learn the art of war.
The rope-a-dope, bob and weave, stick and move, all that.
Be like water, all that.
But it'll be worth it. It'll definitely be worth it. I was actually going to piggyback off of Paul because 100% everything he just said. But the only little thing I would add to that is I remember someone told me, this is shortly before I got married. He said, always remember, to Paul's point, always remember that the person that you choose is a reflection of who you are. Not necessarily a mirror image or that you all have to be identical, but she serves as a reflection, because if you're a low character person, then you will tolerate low character things. You will accept, you will look for. And so a lot of times what will happen is you get frustrated, you get mad, talking about, I don't understand. Yeah, you do, because that's what you actually chose. But the other part of it is too, and this is something I teach my son, especially, I mean, he's a teenager, he's young, but I often tell him, remember that nothing is permanent at that age unless you make it permanent. You don't have to stick to and stay in this permanent space. So don't take it so seriously. But part two of that is money is a tool. It is a tool to be used, just like I use my telephone as a tool to be able to communicate, or I use the faucet to get water. Like we literally look at it, we don't have any attachment to these things. We also don't associate or attach our value to these. In the same vein, it's
I use
important.
tools and toys.
Tools and toys. There you go. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Tools and toys. But along with that, I feel like some of the guys are using money as toys when they should be using tools, and then they're using their tools as toys. No, you got to reverse. Understand that there's
what the hell you playing with a chainsaw for?
Yes, and then playing with a chainsaw, and then won't use a hammer to drive a nail. You rather use a cut. Like you got a whole collection of hammers here. Like use one to drive this nail. Use a screwdriver for what it is. That's not something for you to sleep with. That's not something for you to, be out here throwing around the backyard with your boys, or you at the pool party. That's a screwdriver. That's a hammer. Like get a beach ball for that. And that's what I mean. I try to explain it because I feel like a lot of these guys don't have, unfortunately, where they may have great coaching as athletes and superior athletes, they haven't, again, when I say doing the work, they haven't done the work as far as getting the coaching, the requisite coaching that they need to be able to actually fundamentally know how to use the tools. It's like you can have the best tool set in the world. If you don't know how to use it, you will mess around and be paying contractors tens of thousands of dollars. They're overpricing you for things that you could have actually done for yourself in 10 minutes because you never learned how to use your tools. So that's what I would tell my son.
Soulja Boy made that joint on Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
And put it out on MySpace.
Yep. It's legendary. It's literally a thing of legend what he did with nothingness.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Shout out to Soulja Boy.
Yeah. Nothing that costs tens of thousands of dollars.
No.
Yeah. At all.
So one other thing I wanted to explore before we wrap here is kind of our upbringing. Because as has been, revealed on this show on a few occasions, I grew up in the nicer section of Forest Park, Cincinnati, Ohio, for those who aren't familiar with where we're from. And so I have a different aspect of money and the things that it can do and who's after it. Like I grew up with that knowledge because I watched my parents have it.
Or access to it longer. We all got a little piece of change now, but you've had access to it your whole life where I had to grow up and get it.
Well, I had a middle stage where we talked about this on a previous episode where my parents let me fail. And so I've got, so now I understand what it is, what it's like to not have it, and now what it is to get it back. So, so I have a different mindset that I can teach, my children from when it comes to that. But Paul, you have a different growing up experience as well as Billy does as well. Especially being, starting a business 22 years ago and not always like that's a risk. Like that we ain't. When you start off a business, you ain't starting off making millions on most occasions.
No,
certainly not as a black man.
You're broke for the first 10 years.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So when it comes to how we were brought up in our life experiences, like let's just say this is just a hype before any of our wives listen. I'm just bringing up a hypothetical situation. Okay. This is not anything we are planning. I just want to make sure we understand that. But if we started off today at your age, would you use the tools that the young guys are using, or would you still do it the old school way? Like, are we swiping left and right, or we on IG, or what we doing?
Well, I'm gonna start that out because I can make this real easy, real easy. Like this would be really simple. I would definitely do it the way I did it. I would definitely do it old school, and a lot of that actually has to do with my upbringing. One of the things that growing up I did learn, because I grew up in a family where some people had some money, but there were so many other people in my family who didn't, right? And I saw how they kind of treated my family, where we grew up in Forest Park. They kind of treated us like, oh, y'all made it, right? And so, and I have several, relatives, cousins, uncles who they played NFL ball. They played, Major League Baseball. So it was one of those things where I saw that even with the money and even with the access, even having those tools or toys, however you categorize them, even though they had it available to them, I saw the difference between the ones who did it right with the old school toys and the ones who used their platform, used their money, used what they had available to them to cheat the system, so to speak, to get the hack, the cheat code, and it didn't work. And so I was fortunate in that way that I was able to see that. And so, no, I wouldn't replace it at all. I wouldn't even contemplate that because it became very clear that there is no shortcut to these types of things.
Okay. I am an ever evolving human being. So yeah, if I wasn't lucky enough to find my wife and have a family, yeah, I'd be out there. I'd be outside, for real.
Right.
I ain't tripping. Like, and that's just what it would be,
That's it.
And
That's
whatever
it.
it would be, like
Right.
whatever would it be internet or leaning on the bar or whatever,
Yeah.
like old school, however it would be. I mean, but
Right.
what one thing is for certain is that if I didn't have my wife, I would be serially single. I would be like our last guest. I would be like, I'm not even looking
Yeah.
to try to reach a connection.
Right.
You understand what I'm
It's
saying?
like, there's almost not in a defeatist kind of way, but there's a concession at some point. It's like, I'm just not doing this. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna keep doing this.
if
Yeah.
I can't raise children with you, then what's the point? I'm not just gonna sleep next to you for the rest of my life. Now
Right.
that sounds really zero sum, and I know that's probably a real that I just said. But I'll eat it. But yeah, if I can't
That's real.
have children with you, I'm probably not gonna want to spend my life with you.
Right.
Now I don't. That's probably not fair.
Well, fair in the sense that, fair in the sense, it's not. It may seem unfair, but that's only if you just cannot deal with reality. If you just can't accept the fact that, you know, and I think unfortunately we've been having this conversation, but there's a lot of people that just can't accept the fact that it's okay. And we use this term a lot, we throw it around or whatever, we clown about it. It's actually okay to be lame. Most of your most successful, prominent
You should
athletes,
aspire to
entertainers,
grow into lameness.
yes. And that's the thing. The athletes, the people that I grew up with, my family members who were successful, many of them, they were considered lame when they were young, but when they got older, it all made sense. Matter of fact, I was always considered lame and I got, clown for it. But hey, look at me now, right? Because at the end of the day, the drama, the chaos, the other things that sometimes can come with that whole I'm going to buy it and purchase it instead of working for it. Those are the consequences that come with it, right? You 3, 4
Go ahead,
marriages
APB
later.
that thing then.
Okay. My APB, who I'm looking for, are the lames. I'm looking for, and I'm gonna be even a little more specific. I'm looking for the lames that are men, young men. One of the things that I endured growing up, and one of the things that I know a lot of people kind of went through, was that you get mocked, you get teased, people make fun of you, people dog you for being lame, they'll criticize you, and just a lot of times it's just kids being kids. It back in our day we saw it as harmless, and what honestly spared me from some of the more harsh, critical, like spirit crushing criticism was the fact that I could run, and I could move, and I happen to have an extremely high IQ, and I was an artist, I had talents, and so a lot of times you get spared that. But for the lame people out there, I feel like I need you to show up, and this is kind of my little public service announcement for all the lame kids out there. You're only lame now because kids just aren't that bright. You're only lame now because some of us have some really, really awful parenting skills. Um, Lean into that lameness, because one day you being lame, like the people who are changing the world right now, most of the people who are actually, now I ain't talking about the people, the talking heads and the people who have a microphone because they came out of central casting. Most of the people who are changing the world right now are people who were once lames. They were people who were not taken seriously because they couldn't
cats
dribble
who
a
follow the
basketball.
rules.
Cats who followed the rules and actually went home when the lights came on and actually obeyed their parents, actually did their homework, the stuff that people call lame. I remember going to St. X. The countless jokes, because I went to an all boys Catholic school, was it was phenomenal. It was amazing how many jokes I caught for just actually being able to get into St. X.
You didn't even go there that long. Imagine the jokes I heard.
Okay. And that's kind of my point. So I'm looking for not only the lames and the people out there who catch all that heat to lean into it, but even maybe on a little more nuanced point, I'm looking for the parents out there to help your children understand that not being the kid who fits in, don't just say it's okay, it's fine, but actually give them some enrichment, give them something to build on, really encourage that, because too often if kids don't get encouragement at home, if they don't have the support structure where they know that you're okay with them, they will succumb to that pressure. They will
Mental health,
oftentimes
peer pressure.
they will succumb to that peer pressure. I can tell you right now, as my son as a teenager, what actually sustains, and especially during the COVID years for past couple of years, but what often has sustained him is the fact that me and a handful of other people have reinforced to him this idea that, listen, I know you love your little friends and your peers and your classmates and everything else, but they're kids. This is not a matter of being lame or corny or weak or you a sucker. This is called life. You're growing up. You're being responsible. You're doing the work that ultimately is going to sustain you for the rest of your life, your natural life. So I'm looking for those lame people that aren't willing to take a cheat code, and for the parents of those lame kids to help them understand you don't need a cheat code if you do the work. You don't need a shortcut if you're actually doing the work. So who I'm looking for are those people who are willing to lean into that lame, corny, you soft, you weak, you're whatever. I'm looking for the people who are going to lean into that and say, nah, actually, I know there's a long-term game. One of the things I was teaching my son is that saying, what was it? Abraham Lincoln said, discipline is something that I may be butchering it, but Abraham Lincoln said something like, discipline is the difference between what you want now and putting that aside for what you want most. Right? There are things that you want in the big picture, and you have to be willing to put aside the things you may want in the moment to get to the big picture. That's really all that being lame is. Understanding that there's a big picture here, and if my peers and other people don't appreciate that, then so be it. I'll see you at the next stop, and then we'll see who gets the last laugh. So that's my IPB. That's it. All right, that's a wrap. We want to thank you once again for joining us here in the Grave Matters. As always, we appreciate every last one of you. Please remember to subscribe, follow us on all of our platforms. Make sure that you take the time to share with us, tell a friend. We're always going to be here. If you have questions, comments, things that you want to hear us discuss, make sure to leave those in the comments. Send us an email. Communicate with us and let us know. We want to bring you the content that you deserve and the content that you want. With that, once again, we'll say thank you. We are out. And until next time, be safe. Have a blessed one.
God bless.
Peace.
So a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar.
I am my ancestors back from the grave, no longer a slave, beat to the gods, kneel, pray, surviving my day. A threat to society, cause Malcolm showed me the way. I'm young, black, intelligent.
Oh, now they afraid.
It's too late, I am the king, I am the spark to the brain. I am the light that fought the dark and now you're seeing the rain. I am the thing they spent their whole life killing. To find out, I am the rose that grew from under their building. This ain't for life, this is a fight so you can open your mind. Peel the scab back, reveal the blood and see what we'll find. I promise. Like LeBron, I am just one of a kind. No longer will I accept the blind, leading the blind. Keep it a buck, say what I want, not giving a screaming afterward like Park until the day my heart stops. And when I do, remember when I take my last breath, just remind the tape and witness all the knowledge I left the grave. So I said, a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar. The gray matters.